They say some debts are written in blood and some in rain. But hers was written in both. The night she stumbled into the one place she swore she'd never go, and into the arms of the man whose name haunted her dreams. Welcome back to Mafia Folklore, where love is dangerous, loyalty has a price, and fate never misses its mark. If you're ready for tonight's story, click subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow, another heart-pounding tale awaits. Now, let's begin. Isabella Marino had learned to disappear. Not the kind of disappearing that people noticed. No dramatic exit, no farewell letters. Just the slow, careful erasure of a girl who once had a last name that mattered. She worked the night shift at Rosie's Diner on 5th and Campbell, a place where the coffee was weak and the questions were weaker. Nobody asked where she came from. Nobody cared that her hands shook every time a man in a dark suit walked through the door. That was exactly how she needed it. 15 years. That's how long she'd been a ghost. 15 years since the night the fire took everything. Her father, her home, her name. 15 years since 8-year-old Isabella watched from a closet as flames swallowed the Marino estate, as men in expensive shoes walked through the smoke like they owned death itself. The official story called it an accident, a gas leak. Tragic, really, but Isabella knew better. She'd seen the gasoline cans, heard her father's screams, watched Antonio Marino, the underboss who'd controlled half the city's docks, die begging for mercy that never came. The Romano family gave the order. Everyone knew it. No one said it. And Vincent Romano, the son, the heir, the man who now sat where his father once ruled, he'd inherited an empire built on her father's ashes. She should hate him. God, she'd tried. Spent years sharpening that hatred like a blade, telling herself that one day she'd use it. The gun she kept taped under her bathroom sink had been loaded for a decade, waiting for courage she could never quite find. Because here's the thing about revenge nobody tells you. It keeps you alive, but it doesn't let you live. So Isabella poured coffee, smiled at truckers, went home to a studio apartment that smelled like bleach and regret. Dreamed of fire every single night, and survived. Until the night survival stopped being enough. It started with rain. October rain that turned the city streets into rivers of neon and gasoline. Isabella's shift had ended at 11, and she'd taken the back alley shortcut she always took, the one that avoided main streets, cameras, eyes. She was halfway through when she heard it. Not a gunshot, not a scream, just silence that felt wrong. The kind of quiet that makes your spine straighten, your breath catch. Isabella should have kept walking, should have remembered the first rule of staying invisible. Never look. But her feet stopped anyway. Through the rain, in the amber glow of a dying streetlight, she saw them. 3 men in dark coats standing over a body that wouldn't move again. One of them, tall, silver-haired, with a face like broken glass, turned his head. Their eyes met. Time crystallized into something sharp and fatal. She ran. Behind her. Shouts, footsteps, the wet slap of expensive shoes on pavement. Isabella's heart hammered against her ribs as she cut through alleys she'd memorized years ago. Paths designed for exactly this, for running, for vanishing. But they were faster. The bullet caught her in the side, a white-hot punch that stole her breath and turned her legs to water. She stumbled, caught herself against a brick wall, left a smear of red on stone. "Keep moving. Don't stop. Don't stop." Her vision blurred. The rain mixed with blood, painting the world in watercolor shades of crimson and shadow. She didn't know where she was going anymore. Just away. Just anywhere but here. When she looked up, gasping, The sign glowed like a promise or a threat. Belladonna. The restaurant. His restaurant. Vincent Romano's front for everything dark and unspoken in this city. Every instinct screamed to keep running, but her body was done listening. The door was right there, solid wood and brass handles, and she could hear them behind her. Closer now, inevitable. Isabella Marino made a choice. She pushed through the door and stumbled into the last place on earth she ever thought she'd find salvation. The restaurant was empty. Not closed empty. Wrong empty. The kind of silence that happens when dangerous men need privacy. White tablecloths gleamed under low amber light. A single table in the back, half hidden in shadow, held the remnants of an interrupted meal. And sitting there, perfectly still, was Vincent Romano. Isabella knew his face the way you know a scar. Something studied in mirrors, memorized in nightmares. Dark hair touched with silver at the temples. Sharp Sicilian features that could have been carved from marble. Eyes the color of smoke or steel or something colder. He was younger than she expected. 35, maybe. Old enough to carry weight, young enough to still believe he could outrun it. He looked at her, the way a wolf looks at something bleeding. Slowly, deliberately, Vincent set down his wine glass. Rose from his chair with the casual grace of a man who'd never had to hurry, never had to fear. 2 other men materialized from the shadows. Bodyguards, silent and efficient. But Vincent raised one hand, and they stopped. "Who shot you?" His voice was low, accented, wrapped in that particular Roman authority that made questions sound like commands. Not "are you okay?" Not what happened, just the information that mattered. Isabella swayed, pressed her hand harder against the wound in her side. Blood seeped between her fingers, hot and insistent. She should speak, should lie, should do anything but stand there bleeding on his floor like an offering. "Does it matter?" The words came out rough, defiant. "They're already dead." It wasn't true, but she needed him to think she was dangerous, not desperate. Vincent's eyes narrowed. He moved closer, not rushed, just inevitable, like gravity. And that's when Isabella saw it happen. Recognition. It flickered across his face like lightning. His gaze dropped to the scar on her collarbone, the one that peeked above her shirt, the one she'd gotten 15 years ago, crawling through broken glass to escape flames, then back to her eyes, searching, calculating. "Marino," he said quietly. Not a question, a conclusion. Isabella's breath caught. 15 years of hiding, erased in a single look. Isabella Marino. Vincent took another step, and she should have backed away, but there was nowhere left to go. Antonio's daughter, the girl who died in the fire. "Clearly," she managed. The reports were exaggerated. Something almost like respect flickered in his expression, or maybe curiosity. With men like him, it was hard to tell the difference. "You're bleeding in my restaurant," Vincent observed. "That's inconvenient. I'll try to die more considerately next time." The corner of his mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. Something darker, more complicated. He moved fast, faster than a man his size should move, and caught her as her legs finally gave out. Strong arms, expensive cologne mixed with gunpowder and rain. Isabella's body screamed at her to fight, to run, to do anything but surrender. But consciousness was slipping, and Vincent Romano was the only solid thing in a world gone soft and sideways. "Luca," he said over his shoulder. "Clear the building. No one was here tonight." "Boss, if she's..." No one was here. The command in his voice left no room for argument. Isabella woke to pain and candlelight. Not the restaurant. Somewhere above it, a private apartment, all dark wood and leather. The kind of space that cost more than she'd made in her entire life. She was on a couch, her shirt cut away, professional bandaging wrapped tight around her ribs, and Vincent Romano sat across from her, elbows on his knees, watching her with those unreadable smoke-gray eyes. "The bullet went through," he said. "Clean. You'll live." "Lucky me." Isabella tried to sit up, immediately regretted it. Fire bloomed along her side, stealing her breath. "Don't." Vincent didn't move, but somehow the word stopped her cold. "You lost blood. You need rest." "Why?" The question burst out before she could stop it. "Why didn't you just let me bleed out? Why didn't you—" "Kill me," she wanted to say. "Finish what your father started." "Because," Vincent said quietly, "I'm not my father." The silence that followed was heavy enough to drown in. Isabella stared at him, really looked, trying to find the monster she'd built in her head. The man who should have pulled the trigger the second he recognized her name. Instead, she saw exhaustion, careful control, and underneath it all, something that looked almost like loneliness. "I've been watching you," she admitted, the words spilling out like a confession. "For 6 months, following you. Trying to decide if I deserve to die?" "Yes." Vincent nodded slowly, like this was reasonable, expected, even. "And did you decide?" Isabella's hand drifted to her side, where her gun should have been. Gone. Of course it was gone. She was unarmed in the home of her family's killer, vulnerable and stupid and— "I don't know," she whispered. "Have you ever trusted someone you were taught to fear? Tell us in the comments." Vincent stood, crossed to a small bar in the corner, poured 2 glasses of something amber and expensive, brought one to her. "Then stay," he said, pressing the glass into her hand. "Until you figure it out." Their fingers touched, just for a second, just long enough for Isabella to feel the warmth of him, the steadiness, just long enough to realize that everything she thought she knew might be a lie. "The men who shot you," Vincent continued, settling back into his chair. "They work for Sal Bonetti, my underboss, which means this wasn't random." "They saw me," Isabella said. "In the alley. I witnessed a hit, I know. Sal's been cleaning up loose ends." Vincent's jaw tightened. "But you're not a loose end anymore. You're under my protection. I don't want your protection. You stumbled into my restaurant bleeding, Piccola. You already have it." The nickname, Little One, should have felt patronizing. Instead, it felt intimate, dangerous in a completely different way. Isabella drank the whiskey, let it burn, let it anchor her to this surreal moment where her enemy wrapped her wounds and called her safe. "Why?" she asked again. "Why protect someone who wants you dead?" Vincent met her eyes. And for the first time since she crashed through his door, she saw something raw beneath the careful control. "Because maybe," he said softly, "I'm tired of paying for sins that were never mine." Outside, rain continued to fall, and inside, in the space between them, something fragile and impossible began to bloom. 3 days. That's how long Isabella stayed in the apartment above Belladonna, healing and hiding, while Vincent's world moved beneath her like dark water. She told herself it was practical, necessary, that leaving meant dying, and she'd spent 15 years surviving for a reason. But the truth, the dangerous, complicated truth, was that she didn't want to leave. Vincent came and went like clockwork. Morning coffee at 7, always 2 cups, one left on the small table by the couch where she slept. Lunch at 1, simple things, pasta, bread, fruit, prepared by invisible hands and delivered without comment. Evenings he spent in the leather chair across from her, reading reports or making quiet phone calls in Italian that made her pulse quicken. He never touched her, never crowded her space. But his presence filled the room like smoke, impossible to ignore, strangely comforting. On the second night, she asked the question that had been burning in her chest. "Did you know about my father?" Vincent looked up from his paperwork. The lamplight carved shadows across his face, made him look older, tired. "I was 20 when it happened," he said finally. "Away at university in Rome. My father told me Antonio Marino betrayed the family, stole money, that the fire was justice. It was murder. Yes, no hesitation, no excuse. I believed him for 3 years. Then I found the ledgers, the real ones. Your father never stole anything. He discovered my father was skimming from the other families, planning to start a war. Antonio was going to expose him." Isabella's breath caught. 15 years of certainty, cracking like glass. "So, my father died for being honest. Your father died because mine was a coward who chose power over honor." Vincent's voice was flat, factual, like he'd made peace with hating a dead man. "When I took over, I spent 2 years undoing his damage, returning money, making reparations, but some debts." He looked at her. "Some debts can't be repaid." "You could have found me, told me the truth." "You were a ghost, Isabella. I looked. For years I looked. I thought—" He stopped. Started again. "I thought you deserved to stay hidden, safe. Free of all this." "I was never free." The words came out sharper than she intended. "I was in prison, just one without bars." Vincent nodded slowly, like he understood. And maybe he did. Maybe he was in his own prison, legacy and blood and expectations that weighed more than any chain. "Tell me about him," Vincent said quietly. "Your father." So she did. Not the underboss, not the name in newspapers. Just Antonio, the man who made terrible pancakes and sang off key in the shower. Who taught her to play chess and let her win until she was 10, then stopped because he said she was ready to earn it. Who tucked her in every night with the same words, "Ti voglio bene, Stellina. You are my star." By the time she finished, tears were sliding down her face, and she didn't care. Vincent crossed the space between them, sat beside her on the couch, careful of her wound. Offered a handkerchief, actual cloth, monogrammed, absurdly old-fashioned. "He sounds like he was a good man," Vincent said. "He was." Isabella wiped her eyes. "And your father took him from me." "I know." Vincent's voice was raw. "I know, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for him, for all of it, for every choice that led to this." She should hate him, should pull away, but his shoulder was warm and solid, and she was so tired of carrying grief alone. So Isabella let herself lean, just a little, just enough. And Vincent didn't move away. The 4th day, Vincent cooked. Not ordered food, actually cooked. Isabella watched from the couch, half amused, half fascinated, as this man who commanded an empire with a word struggled with garlic bread. "You're burning it," she observed. "I'm crisping it." That's what burning things always say. He shot her a look, exasperated, almost playful, and something in her chest loosened. Warmth, dangerous and unexpected. They ate at the small table. Simple pasta, slightly burnt bread, wine that probably cost more than her monthly rent. And they talked. Not about blood or revenge or the weight of their last names. Just talked. Vincent told her about Rome, about studying literature before his father died, and duty dragged him home. About the Dante quote tattooed on his ribs. Nel mezzo del cammin di nostra vita. In the middle of the journey of our life. I got it the day I buried him, Vincent said. A reminder that I was only halfway through, that I could still choose differently. And have you? Chosen differently? I'm trying. He met her eyes. Every day. I'm trying. Isabella told him about the diner, about her regular customers. Joe, who always ordered black coffee and apple pie. Marie, who left romance novels behind. Tommy, who proposed to his girlfriend in booth 7. Small lives, normal lives, the kind she'd watched from the outside for 15 years. You were lonely, Vincent said. Not a question. Isn't everyone? Yes. His hand moved across the table, stopped just short of touching hers. But some of us pretend better than others. The air between them shifted, thickened. Isabella's heart hammered against her ribs for reasons that had nothing to do with fear. Would you risk your peace to protect someone you barely know? Tell us in the comments. The truth came on the 5th night. Vincent's phone rang. A conversation in rapid Italian, tense, angry. When he hung up, his face was granite. What is it? Isabella asked. Sal, my underboss. He knows you're here. Knows who you are. Vincent's jaw tightened. The hit on you. It wasn't random. Sal ordered it. Why? Because you're a loose end, a reminder of old sins, and because... Vincent hesitated. He was there. The night your father died. He helped set the fire. The room tilted. Isabella gripped the edge of the table, trying to breathe through sudden rage. He's been with you this whole time? Working for you? I didn't know. Not until tonight. My father protected him, kept certain things hidden. But now... Vincent stood, paced. Now he's threatening to expose you to the other families. To start a war if I don't hand you over. Then do it. The words tasted like ash. I'm not worth a war. Vincent turned on her, fast and fierce. Don't you dare make yourself small for men like him. I'm a ghost, Vincent. I've always been a ghost. Not to me. He crossed the room, cupped her face in his hands, rough palms, gentle touch. Not to me, Isabella. The world narrowed to this. His eyes storm gray and burning, his breath warm against her lips. The impossible realization that somewhere between hatred and survival, she'd started falling. This is insane, she whispered. I know. We barely know each other. I know. Your family killed mine. I know. Vincent's thumb traced her cheekbone. And I'd burn it all down before I let anyone hurt you again. Isabella kissed him, or he kissed her. It didn't matter who moved first. Just that the space between them disappeared, replaced by heat and desperate tenderness. He tasted like wine and violence and something softer. Hope. Maybe. Permission to want something beyond revenge. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Vincent pressed his forehead to hers. No one touches you while I'm breathing, he murmured. Do you understand? No one. Isabella understood. She understood that she was falling for the son of her father's killer. That this was dangerous and complicated and possibly the worst decision of her life. She understood that for the first time in 15 years, she felt something other than numb. And God help her, she understood that she'd fight for this. For him. For whatever impossible future they could build from the ashes of their past. Outside, rain had stopped, but inside, Between them, a different storm was just beginning. Isabella woke to voices, not the quiet murmur of Vincent on the phone. These were raised, sharp with anger. She sat up carefully, her wound pulling but mostly healed now, and moved toward the door. "Threatening everything I've built!" Vincent's voice, stripped of its usual control. "What you've built?" Another voice, male, older, dripping with contempt. "You've made us soft. Legitimate business. Peace treaties. Your father would be ashamed." "My father was a butcher." "Your father was a king, and you're protecting the daughter of a traitor?" "Antonio Marino was not a traitor." Silence. Heavy. Dangerous. Then, "So you do know who she is?" The older voice turned cold. "How long, Vincent? How long have you been keeping secrets?" Isabella pressed closer to the door. Through the crack, she could see them. Vincent, rigid with tension, and an older man with silver hair and a face like weathered stone. Sal Bonetti, the underboss. The man who shot her in the alley. The man who helped murder her father. "Since the moment she walked through my door," Vincent said quietly. "And I'll keep protecting her." Sal laughed, bitter, sharp. "You'd risk everything for some ghost? For a woman you've known less than a week?" "Yes." The simplicity of it, the certainty, stole Isabella's breath. "Then you're a fool." Sal moved closer, predatory. "The other families are already asking questions. Marco's crew saw you carrying an injured woman into Belladonna. Word spreads, Vincent. And when they find out you're harboring Antonio Marino's daughter, the sole witness to what really happened 15 years ago, they'll turn on you. War. Blood. Everything your legitimacy was supposed to prevent. Let them come. She's not worth it. She's a liability. A loose end that should have been tied off years ago." Sal's voice dropped, venomous. "Give her to me. I'll make it quick, quiet, and we can all move forward." "No. This isn't a request, Vincent. This is me trying to save you from yourself, from your father's mistakes." "My father's mistakes?" Vincent's voice turned to ice. "You mean your mistakes? You think I don't know? That I haven't pieced it together? The timing, the convenient witnesses, the way you rose to underboss 3 months after the fire." Sal went very still. "You framed Antonio," Vincent continued. "Falsified the ledgers, made my father believe Marino was a threat. And when my father ordered the hit, you made sure it was brutal, excessive, a message. Careful, boy. You murdered an innocent man to advance your position. You burned a child's world to ashes. And now you want me to finish what you started?" Vincent stepped forward. "I should put a bullet in you myself." "But you won't." Sal smiled, slow, cruel. "Because you're weak, just like your father said. Too soft. Too concerned with honor and peace and all those pretty ideas that mean nothing in our world. Get out. By tomorrow morning, every family in this city will know you're protecting the Marino girl. And then we'll see how long your pretty kingdom lasts. We'll see if she's still worth it when your empire is burning." Sal turned. Walked toward the door, toward Isabella. She stumbled back, but not fast enough. Their eyes met. Recognition, calculation, and something worse, satisfaction. "Hello, little ghost," Sal said softly. "Vincent's whore now? How Antonio would weep." Vincent moved fast, but Isabella was faster. Her hand cracked across Sal's face with enough force to snap his head sideways. "My father's name doesn't belong in your mouth," she hissed. Sal touched his split lip, smiled through blood. "Spirited. I see the appeal. Enjoy her while you can, Vincent. She'll be dead by sunrise." Then he was gone, footsteps echoing down the stairs, leaving fury and dread in his wake. Vincent turned to Isabella. "How much did you hear?" "Enough." Her voice shook. "Enough to know that I'm destroying everything you've worked for. That staying here means war." "Isabella." "He's right. I'm a liability. A ghost who should have stayed buried." She backed away, mind racing. "I need to leave. Tonight. Disappear again. If I'm gone, the families have no reason to—" "No." Vincent caught her wrist, gentle but firm. "We'll find another way." "There is no other way." The words burst out, raw and desperate. "Don't you see? As long as I exist, you're vulnerable. Your position, your family, everything. It's all at risk because of me." "Then let it burn." "Vincent, let it burn, Isabella. I don't care. I don't care about position or power or any of it if the cost is you." His hands framed her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. "I lost 15 years to my father's sins. I won't lose you to Sal's." Isabella's eyes burned. "You barely know me." "I know enough. I know you're brave and broken and trying to survive in a world that took everything from you. I know you make terrible coffee and you smile when you think no one's watching. I know that for the first time in years, I feel something other than empty." His voice cracked. "I know I'd rather die protecting you than live without trying." She kissed him. Hard, desperate, tasting salt and terror, and something that might have been love if the world gave them time to find out. When they broke apart, she pressed her forehead to his chest, listened to his heartbeat, memorized the sound. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Vincent tensed. "For what?" "For this." She pulled away, ran for the bedroom, locked the door before he could follow. "Isabella!" Vincent's fist slammed against wood. "Don't do this! Don't you dare!" "I love you," she called through the door. The truth, the impossible, terrible truth. "That's why I have to go." She heard him curse in Italian. Heard him call for Luca, order the door broken down. But Isabella was already moving. Window open, fire escape. The rain-slicked streets below that she'd learned to navigate in darkness. She ran, and left only a note on the pillow, written in shaking hand. "Some debts can't be forgiven. But thank you for trying. Thank you for seeing me. I'm sorry I can't stay to watch you build something beautiful." The warehouse was exactly where Sal said it would be. His text had come 20 minutes after she fled. Pier 17, midnight. Come alone, or I start with Vincent's sister. Isabella didn't know if Vincent had a sister. Didn't matter. She'd already decided, already made her choice. Her life for his safety. A ghost trading herself for something real. The rain had returned. Of course it had, turning the world silver and cold. Isabella walked through puddles that reflected broken streetlights, her gun heavy in her pocket. The same gun Vincent had confiscated and she'd stolen back. Loaded, ready. She'd survived 15 years, but she'd never really lived. Until Vincent. And if this was the cost of 5 days of feeling human, of feeling something, then she'd pay it. Gladly. The warehouse door stood open. An invitation. A trap. Isabella walked through. Sal waited in the center of the vast empty space, flanked by 2 men with guns. He smiled when he saw her, the smile of a hunter who'd finally cornered his prey. "The ghost returns," he said. "Alone, I see. Good. Vincent always did make you stupid. Let him go. Your fight is with me. My fight is with everyone stupid enough to threaten my position. Your father. Vincent. You." Sal circled her slowly. "Antonio discovered the truth 15 years ago. that I'd been skimming from the families, not him. That I'd set him up to take the fall. He confronted Vincent's father, thinking he'd find justice. Instead, I convinced the old man that Marino was the traitor. Easiest lie I ever told. So you murdered him, burned my home. Insurance. Dead men tell no tales. Dead little girls don't grow up to seek revenge. Sal stopped in front of her. But you survived. My one mistake, and now you're here to correct it. I'm here to offer a trade, my life, my silence, for Vincent's safety. Sal laughed. You think I need your permission? Vincent's finished. By morning, the families will have voted him out, and whoever takes his place. He smiled. Well, that depends on who has the strongest claim. You. Me. Isabella's hand moved toward her pocket. Slow, careful, but Sal was faster. His gun was out, pressed to her forehead, before she'd cleared leather. Did you really think it would be that easy? He whispered. No, said a voice from the shadows. But I did. Vincent stepped into the light, his own gun trained on Sal's head, soaked from rain, furious, terrified, alive. Vincent, Isabella's breath caught. Did you really think, Vincent said quietly, that I wouldn't follow you? That I'd let you trade yourself for me? How touching, Sal sneered. Romeo and Juliet, Mafia edition. But you're outnumbered, boy. 3 guns to your 1. The second you fire, my men will cut you both down. Then we all die together. Vincent's voice was steel. Pull the trigger, Sal. See what happens. The moment stretched, taut, infinite. Then everything happened at once. Sal's finger tightened. Isabella moved. Vincent fired. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. Sal staggered, clutching his shoulder. His men raised their weapons. Isabella pulled her gun, fired twice, not at Sal, but at the men beside him. Both dropped. Sal lunged, caught Vincent's arm. The gun clattered away. They grappled, older versus younger, cunning versus strength. And then Sal's hand found a weapon, pressed the barrel to Vincent's chest. No! Isabella didn't think, just moved, just threw herself between them as Sal pulled the trigger. The bullet meant for Vincent's heart caught her shoulder instead. She fell. Vincent caught her. And then Vincent was on Sal. Fists and fury and 15 years of buried rage. By the time he stopped, Sal was unconscious, broken, bleeding on the concrete floor. Vincent turned back to Isabella, dropped to his knees, pressed his hands against her wound. Stay with me, he begged. Please. Per favor. Stellina, stay with me. Stellina. Little star. The name her father used to call her. Isabella smiled through pain, touched his face. I'm not going anywhere, she whispered, and she meant it. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and second chances. Isabella woke to morning light filtering through blinds, her shoulder bandaged and aching, but clean. Alive. Vincent sat in the chair beside her bed, head bowed, still wearing yesterday's blood-stained shirt. He looked up when she stirred. Relief and exhaustion warred across his face. You stayed, she whispered. Where else would I be? She wanted to laugh, wanted to cry, settled for reaching for his hand. He took it, brought it to his lips, held on like she might disappear. Sal? She asked. Alive, in custody. Police found evidence, ledgers, recordings, everything. He'd been documenting his crimes for years. Insurance, he called it. Turns out insurance can be evidence. Vincent's voice was flat, empty. He'll spend the rest of his life in prison. They're reopening your father's case, officially clearing his name. Antonio Marino, underboss, innocent man, father. Soon the whole city would know the truth. And you? Isabella asked. Your position? The families voted this morning. Vincent smiled, bitter. I'm out. No longer head of the Romano family. They needed someone to blame for the chaos, and I volunteered. Vincent, I don't care. He squeezed her hand. I'm done, Isabella. Done with blood and codes and legacy. I'm selling my stake in the family business. Going legitimate, really legitimate this time. What will you do? I don't know yet. He met her eyes. But I'd like to figure it out with you, if you'll have me. Isabella's throat tightened. You're giving me a choice? Always. You can leave. I have money set aside. Enough for a new life anywhere you want. New name, new identity, complete freedom. Vincent's voice caught. Or you can stay, with me. Help me build something that has nothing to do with our fathers or their mistakes. Something that's just ours. It should have been an impossible choice. The woman she'd been 6 days ago would have run, would have taken the money and the freedom and never looked back. But she wasn't that woman anymore. I'm staying, Isabella said. Vincent exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years. You're sure? I spent 15 years as a ghost. I'm done disappearing. She touched his face. I choose you. I choose this. Whatever it looks like. He kissed her then, soft, reverent, like she was something precious instead of something broken. Ti voglio bene, Stellina, he murmured against her lips. I love you, little star. And Isabella finally understood why her father had said those words every night. Not as goodbye, as a promise, as proof that love was the only thing that made surviving worthwhile. 6 months later. Belladonna looked different. The white tablecloths remained, but now they held families instead of made men. Children's laughter echoed where deals used to be whispered. The menu had expanded. Real Italian cuisine, recipes from Vincent's grandmother, pasta made fresh every morning. It was still Vincent's, but now it was theirs. Isabella moved through the dining room, checking tables, refilling wine glasses, greeting regulars by name. No more hiding, no more running, just living, finally living. Table 7 needs more bread, Vincent called from the kitchen. He'd traded his expensive suits for an apron, his gun for a chef's knife. Looked better on him than power ever did. Already on it, boss, Isabella teased. He appeared in the doorway, flower on his cheek, smiling that rare smile he saved just for her. Don't call me that. Why not? You're bossy enough? Come here. She went. Let him pull her close despite the customers watching. Let him kiss her like they had all the time in the world. Because they did. Because they'd chosen this. Normalcy and pasta and growing old together instead of the legacies that tried to bury them. Outside, rain began to fall. Isabella turned toward the window, watched water paint the glass, and remembered another rainy night. Another version of herself, bleeding, desperate, stumbling through a door she'd sworn never to enter. Maybe love really is the only thing worth breaking the rules for. Tell us in the comments. Vincent came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist, rested his chin on her good shoulder, the one without the scar. What are you thinking? He asked. That I'm glad I came through that door, that night, that I was bleeding and terrified and exactly where you needed to be. Isabella leaned back into him. Safe. Home. Chosen. They say some debts are written in blood and some in rain. But Isabella Marino learned that the most important debts, the ones that matter, are written in trust, in courage, in the radical act of loving someone despite every reason not to. Her father had died protecting the truth. But she'd lived to build something better. Not revenge, Not justice, just love. Messy and complicated and absolutely worth it. Outside, the rain continued to fall. But inside Belladonna, the lights were warm, the laughter was real, and two people who'd been ghosts finally learned how to haunt the world together. Not as Romeo and Juliet, not as tragedy waiting to happen, just as Vincent and Isabella. Two survivors, two souls, one impossible, beautiful choice. And every day, they chose each other again. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and click on the next video. It's darker, deeper, and even more unforgettable. You don't want to miss it. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a new story, and comment your country or city in the comments. Your support helps us create more contents like this.